Look, let me describe a feeling that a lot of people recognize but almost never talk about. You open your banking app, you check your balance. Bills are paid, rent is covered, nothing is overdue. On paper, everything looks fine. But there is still this quiet tension sitting in your chest. Not panic, not crisis, just pressure. Because deep down, you know something. If one thing goes wrong, just one, a car repair, a medical bill, a sudden issue at work, everything becomes stressful again. You're not broke, but you're not calm either. And that uncomfortable space right there is where most people live financially, not struggling enough to completely change their life, but not safe enough to truly relax. Now, here is what is interesting. For a surprising number of people, that feeling starts to change after saving just $5,000. Not because $5,000 makes you rich, not because it solves your life, but because it changes how your brain relates to money. And most people do not realize that shift is happening. My name is Ethan, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about how money affects human behavior far more than math ever does. If you work hard, earn money, and still feel financially fragile or stuck living paycheck to paycheck, you are exactly who this video is for. Today, I want to explain why your first $5,000 is one of the most important financial milestones you will ever reach. Not because of what it earns, but because of what it changes inside your head. Here is the core problem most people never talk about. We assume money improves life in a straight line. We think $1,000 helps a little. $5,000 helps more. $50,000 helps a lot. But money does not work that way. Money changes your life in psychological thresholds. And below your first real financial buffer, your brain operates in survival mode. According to the Federal Reserve, roughly 1/3 of Americans say they could not cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money. That includes people with jobs. That includes people with decent incomes. That constant financial pressure does something dangerous. It changes how you think. When money feels scarce, your brain does not stay rational. It overreacts to small losses. It avoids long-term decisions. It prioritizes comfort over growth. It treats every expense as permanent. This is not a discipline problem. It is biology. Psychologists call this a scarcity mindset. When resources feel limited, your mental bandwidth shrinks. You do not think worse, you think narrower. And that is why people below their first $5,000 often delay investing. Carry high-interest debt, chase quick wins, and stay stuck longer than they should. Not because they are irresponsible, but because fear is loud. Now pause for a moment, because this is where most people misunderstand what $5,000 actually represents. $5,000 does not matter because of what it buys. It matters because of what it removes. Fear. And fear is not just an emotion. It is a filter. Let me show you what I mean. Two people. Same job, same income, same expenses. Person A has $500 saved. Person B has $5,000 saved. On paper, their lives look almost identical, but psychologically, they are living in completely different worlds. Person A wakes up every day with a quiet question running in the background. What happens if something goes wrong? That question never fully turns off. It follows them into every decision, every purchase, every plan. Person B wakes up with a different question. What should I do next to improve my situation? That single difference changes everything. Person A spends most of their energy trying not to lose ground. Person B can finally afford to think about gaining ground. Same math, same income, completely different psychology. That is the real shift. Here is what most people do not fully understand about money. Wealth does not begin with investing. It begins when money stops controlling your emotional state. Before you reach your first real financial buffer, every decision feels urgent. Every expense feels dangerous. Every setback feels personal. Your brain treats uncertainty like a threat. So it pushes you toward short-term safety, even when that choice hurts you long-term. That is why money feels exhausting for so many people, even when they are doing everything right. But once that first $5,000 exists, something subtle but powerful changes. You stop living in reaction mode. You no longer need every decision to work out perfectly, because one mistake no longer feels catastrophic. Your nervous system finally has permission to slow down, and when your nervous system slows down, your thinking becomes clearer. You stop reacting. You start evaluating. You begin thinking in years instead of weeks. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop forcing outcomes. Patience becomes possible. Consistency becomes realistic. Discipline finally has space to exist. This is also why so many people invest too early and quit too fast. They skip emotional stability. So when volatility appears, fear takes over and they pull out. Your first $5,000 is not an investment fund. It is a psychological foundation. It buys you time. It buys you clarity. It buys you the ability to wait without panicking. And those traits compound far more reliably than money ever could. If this video helped you see money differently, that is the entire point. Because financial progress is not about hacks, hype, or chasing the next big thing. It is about reaching the moment where your brain finally works with you instead of against you. In the next video, we will talk about why what $25,000 really means for financial stability. If you want calm, honest conversations about money, psychology, and long-term thinking, make sure you are subscribed.